it's Joe from JLW Games coming at you with another cool video. We're back in Planet Coaster 2 and Windland Adventure Resort, and today's a very special episode because we're finally getting into one of the parks for the first time after starting this series. So no more parking lots, no more city walk. We're actually getting into the first park that we're going to be doing here in this resort. Again, just to review, we are doing 2 total parks at the beginning here for this in general, and then with an option of expanding to doing a 3rd park after we get maybe some more DLC or some more cool items into the game. That's what I wanted to wait on the 3rd park for. But we're getting started with Paradise Adventure, which is going to be the resort's water park, which is going to include a lot of cool attractions. And we're finally going to be doing our first few attractions for the entire resort. So this is going to consist of doing a lazy river and also a slide complex that is going to be accompanied by a cool volcano. So obviously taking a little bit, slightly, not a ton, but a little bit of inspiration from Volcano Bay, which is one of Universal's parks, which is a water park. Just so happens to be a water park, right? And so yeah, we start things off by making this really simple entrance. It's not going to be huge or anything like that. This entrance is just going to be simple thatch. It's supposed to look very inviting, very cozy, and very cute. So nothing too insane right here. Now, the idea is to get the lazy river kind of somewhat connected with the little river that we have established here in the city walk. I think it would be really, really cool to have kind of like the water connected in some way, shape, or form. We're going to work on that later a little bit, but you can see where it's going to have a connection point at some point here, so. But to get started, we're going to be working on a cool little waterfall that is going to be splashing into this lazy river. Now, this lazy river is going to have 2 different entrances you'll see by the end, and it's going to be nice, heavily themed, a lot of scenery. But you can see kind of where I wanted to go with this. I wanted the river to kind of connect as best as I could with this lazy river, and this lazy river isn't anything huge or anything crazy. It's actually a pretty small lazy river and takes up a very minimal amount of space, which is kind of my idea. Is I'm trying to crunch everything together here in this same build, so it's really, really difficult to try and get everything to fit inside this one biome, because obviously we're trying to fit a total of potentially 3 parks in this whole entire biome. So that is going to be something that's going to be quite a challenge, but to do that, we're going to have to make things very kind of tied together. Now, obviously, the water park is going to be the smallest park out of all of the parks that are going to be in this build. It's still going to be a decent size. It's still going to be a fully fledged park, but it is going to be kind of the smallest park out of all of them, which is why we're getting it started first, is that we're going to build this, and then of course we're going to leave much room for the main park, which is going to be Universe Adventure, which is going to feature multiple themed areas and is going to be based off of, very inspired by, of course, Epic Universe at Universal, which is one of my most anticipated parks, and I can't wait to visit it for real myself. Hopefully I'll be able to get out there this year. I'm not entirely sure if I'll have the funds or to be able to do that, but I'm going to do my best to maybe go towards around fall, maybe towards closer to the end of the year. And who knows where we'll be at the park, be on this project by then, but hopefully that's when I can really get some inspiration down the line. So with the Western theme actually coming back here soon, which will be on the 20th, so if you're watching this afterwards, it's already out, but I've kind of decided that I do want to do a Western theme for one of my areas of the park. It is one of my, I guess, expertise, one of the themes that I do a lot of on my channel, so I think it just makes sense to have it, and this is my dream project, so I think it just obviously makes sense to have a Western themed area or Western themed land within this park, because it's obviously the thing that I usually do the most. And I know I've done a lot of Western builds in Planet Coaster 1 before, and just the theming and the build style before. But honestly, that is being my dream project. I think I need to have a themed land for Western. If you guys haven't been, or if you guys just kind of review, or you maybe didn't hear of kind of the themed lands I'm kind of leaning towards for the main park, which is Universe Adventure. We're going to be obviously doing a Viking theme, because I absolutely love the Viking theme set in the game. It's actually one of my favorites in Planet Coaster 2. So obviously the water park is going to be mostly using the resort theme within the game, which it's going to be very tropical, very cool, and it's going to be a coherent theme throughout. And then we're actually going to have themed lands for the dry parks, which is going to feature a Western area now, which is something I'm just announcing now for the first time. So we're going to have a Western area, a Viking themed area. The central hub is going to be very Epic Universe-y kind of styled, kind of like Celestial Park. So it is going to have, I'm hoping to do some sort of like space-ish kind of theming, and have like the portals that lead to land as well. Very similar, but obviously it's going to have its own twist, and obviously it's going to feel a little bit different, because I want it to be its own thing, but just inspired by the Epic Universe land. So with that being said, we are going to feature Western, and we are going to be featuring a Viking type of land, which obviously can be inspired a lot by the How to Train Your Dragon section in Epic Universe. So that's going to be where we're stacked on and looking at for that as well. So obviously, like I said, we are going to be doing some changing rooms just on the inside of the entrance as well. This gives us, our guests, option to change just outside the park, or they can change as soon as they get inside the park. This will hopefully help a lot with the congestion as well. So, and I do take your guys' advice. I think a lot of people were pointing out that I do need to put some restrooms before the entrance, and we end up doing that here later in the video. So to keep you guys in the loop, that is going to be in there later in the video. So never fear, we are going to get some more restrooms, so they don't have to walk all the way back to the front of City Walk, the City Walk area, in order to use the restroom. So that's going to be a nice addition there. So yeah, so Viking, very heavily inspired by the How to Train Your Dragon section. A Western area, which is not really going to be inspired by anything within Epic Universe, but it is going to have that grand feel with a lot of impressive theming, which is going to be the case there. So so obviously there's going to be differences between my lands and Epic Universes in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if I'll have dragons in my Viking section. Obviously that would be probably a little bit too close to How to Train a Dragon, but we'll see. It still could be a possibility if you guys like the idea of me trying to create some sort of Viking land that is obviously very much kind of a knockoff of How to Train Your Dragon. We'll see how that goes, but we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see when we get there. But and then as for another land, I really want to do something similar to Dark Universe that is inspired by Dark Universe. So I do want to do some sort of horror themed area of some sorts on a grander scale. I want it to be like a super scary area with some very scary attractions. So it's going to be that area that you probably don't want to take your kids, small children, into, because they're going to get scared. It's going to be a scary area. I want it to be very scary. So going into that future there, we have 3 confirmed lands that I really want to work on, kind of like 4 if you count the Central Hub. So if I could find maybe one more themed area that I want to do, I know I've talked about potentially doing a mythology theme. So far, that's probably going to be the 5th one as of right now, going within the theming that Planet Coaster 2 provides us, because it does allow me to make it a little bit easier since that theming is already in the game. So I'm really hoping we get some sort of spooky theme return at some point. I'll probably save the horror themed area for last once we have some more updates and potential DLC at that point. Kind of like my hopes and dreams at this point, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But anyways, going back into the video here, of course, like you guys said, I thought it was obviously a good idea. Thank you guys for suggesting it, and that is to have restrooms at the entrance. I was able to fit it in here and still have some room over to the right. That way, if we want to expand the city walk area, like I've talked about, we can still do that, but we also have some restrooms in here as well. I probably could have made it the part of the same building as the changing rooms. That would make sense. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and leave it separate and add some planters in between to kind of help translate those together and transition those together and put some nice foliage around that as well. So it looks real nice. So really happy of how that kind of turned out. And of course, we can get back into the water park itself, which I honestly don't think it's going to take us a crazy amount of time to complete this part of the park, this park in general, because it is going to again be the smallest park in the whole resort area, and it also has one coherent theme, and it makes it a lot easier. The theming's not going to be as crazy storytelling as the dry park stuff as well, so that's something that we can kind of figure out. So anyways, going into this, we do have a little cave section that I wanted to create with the rock work for that lazy river, but that gave me kind of the inspiration idea slash, all right, maybe I should do like a small volcano here, kind of like Volcano Bay. Obviously this isn't going to be as big of a scale as Volcano Bay, but this is going to be a nice little volcano, and we can have the rock work kind of structure go into that little cave, be a part of that cave a little bit as well. So I used a combination of these rock pieces and also terrain to create an awesome looking little volcano. I'm no big expert on terrain work, and I'm not that great when it comes to creating stuff like this, like big mountains or big hills and such like that. And it is very challenging when you do get into terrain and the terrain brush and such like that. But I think this turned out fairly good when you see it in the end. Obviously we aren't finished with it, and it will continue to look better, but I think it turned out pretty solid. So after I got this lazy river done, we did layout done. We needed to obviously make an area where we can enter and exit the water and of course we need to have like that transition of depths, and obviously have our pathways on it as well. And later in the video we do create a second entrance and slash exit as well. I have to say it is very satisfying just to see the terrain that forms around the river, like the lazy river. It looks really satisfying, just that those grass pieces and how smooth those curves are, and those little islands. At first I was thinking about doing like some pathing on the inside there and allowing guests to be in there and also have some lifeguards in there, but I decided I didn't really want to create that those stairs that much, or that bridge. So we do kind of keep it the way it is, and just create some paths on some spots so we can still have some lifeguard coverage, because that way it's still a nice functional lazy river, and I don't have to hear about the the safety of it by all of getting tons of notifications that it's not safe. So obviously we do get a pretty good coverage of our lifeguards in general. I think I ended up getting like 94% coverage, so we still might add another one or so to try and get it to 100, but it's still pretty safe as it is right now. Now, going into the theming of this lazy river, it does have, I wanted to give it a more unique look, so we do go in and put in a lot of rock work, and we actually put the rock work on the sides and on the bottom of the lazy river as well, so it gives it a more unique feel and gives you that cool theming that we want to see. So there's going to be a lot of like water everywhere, like you see like this little pond right here. All this water is going to be kind of connected with each other, and it's going to be really, really cool to really give you a cool entrance. And you can see that we're going to have like some waterfalls coming off of those rock structures, and I think it will give a really cool presentation as you enter this this water park for the first time. So I think it will be a really cool moment when you come through those gates. So and the lazy river obviously I think looks really beautiful, and we end up adding some really cool lighting later on as well. I'm still surprised that I pretty much almost got all of this lazy river completed in this entire episode, because you can see how much bare emptiness there is right there. In this episode we get all of that complete. So and also a slide complex, which we'll be adding here in a little bit as well, because we couldn't go without adding some slides and rides and attractions. We had to have something in here, so we end up going with these body slides, and I have a few slides that we do here. So we do a body slide, an inner tube slide, and a double tube slide to give some variety. And I also left some room for expansion if I do want to add more to this slide complex and have more slides a part of this kind of volcano theme area. So they're very simple slides. They're not crazy intense, and I'm excited to see these things in action once we get the update in on the 20th, which will add a lot to the physics and everything like that. It'll be really, really nice. And it's also a challenge to get these slides to kind of weave around each other, go in and out of each other, to try and get some really cool visual appeal to some of these slides. It can be a little bit of a challenge, but at the same time, it's very satisfying when you do get all of these kind of like winding in and out of each other. Some really satisfying colors and combinations. And again, I'm not a huge water park person in general, but I have to say I've enjoyed doing water parks and water park things a lot more than I thought I would in general, and I've been doing a lot of cool stuff with them, so I'm pretty excited about that. Now, at the top of this slide complex, we are going to put a cover on it or some sort of roofing or something later on. We don't do it in this episode, but hopefully we get that at some point, and it will look really, really good. I just need to figure out exactly what I want to do for that. But basically, the name of these kind of like this water slide complex is going to be called Eruption of some sort. So we'll have like Eruption, slide 1, slide 2, body slide, but the complex is going to be called Eruption, basically. So this whole thing is going to be, I think it'd be cool name for a volcano themed kind of water slides. These are going to be kind of the smaller. This is actually, believe it or not, some of the smaller slides that I have planned for this. So we are going to have some drop slides with the the trapdoor slides, which are going to be a lot bigger. And they're going to be off to the right, utilizing the terrain. It has some really cool ideas for those. And of course, we're going to have some water coasters in as well. And I want to do multiple water coasters for this project as well. So we can have some really cool water coasters. Those would probably be the most elaborate and most effort, I guess, put into as well. Not that I didn't put effort into these, but I think it was a cool idea to have some slide complexes kind of built into the volcano or the mountain there, just kind of like how Volcano Bay does actually have. But again, everything a little bit on a smaller scale for this in particular. And again, left some room for expansion on that. And then instead of doing a fence around the perimeter, I thought it'd be kind of cool to do like a cool rock structure going around the area. And also it just adds a cool amount of theming and elements to the slides themselves. And of course, adding some foliage around the area and greenery is going to just overall enhance how this whole thing looks visually. And when we get done with this, there are a lot of trees and foliage and greenery that I put into this whole project, into this area. So you're going to see a lot of that just in general. If you know me, I love having a lot of trees, foliage, and just greenery in my parks, because I think it makes everything look a lot better. It gives it a more natural look, and honestly, it gives you some more shade on your pathways as well in general, like it would in real life, and I think a lot of guests do appreciate that in real life. So if I was to build a park, obviously I'm going to have a lot of trees as many trees as I can over my pathways and just in general. And I think it makes your rides look a lot better overall in your attractions. So obviously I want to put in a lot of tubes and kind of like the little tube rings in there for visually to make it look like that's where you would, if you wanted to use some floaties in the lost or the river, you could use it there. And then we'll have some over by the entrance for the tube slides as well, because obviously there's slides that require tubes. So we'll put it over here by the entrance. Also, I'd made a little bit of a queue for that for when we do get to that. But we haven't got there just yet, and we'll probably get it in the next episode. So in the meantime, we're going to go in and build some of the theming elements of some of this lazy river. Obviously, having some of these little totem pieces are really cool, and I think it was a cool idea to have some water effects, some water coming out of the mouths and such, like spraying passerbys and such. I think that was obviously a good idea. I can't wait to get guests in here and see how well the lazy river flows. Hopefully it is good. We might have to add more water jets potentially to try and get the current faster. I like making the current pretty fast if I can. I think it's a good idea, but so going into what the future holds, I think I do want to try and get the wave pool in on the next episode if we can, and then potentially another slide complex as well, and maybe even start on a restaurant also. It just depends on, where we're at overall in the process, and I do want to get like a really cool tropical restaurant kind of started. Maybe like a kind of like a quick serve or like a window serve restaurant where you just pick up your food and you go eat somewhere, not like a full sit down restaurant. And we might add we're gonna add one of those in the water park, but like once we get the update for restaurants, and I believe it is the April update. We'll get those restaurants, and then of course when we get that, we'll probably dedicate a good portion of an episode to do the sports grill as well once we get the restaurant update. So and finish up that area. So because a lot of you may have been going, well, you didn't finish that area, and you moved on, because I'm trying to get to the point where I'm finishing stuff before I move to the next area. So but that is an exception because we are waiting on a particular update for that restaurant itself. Now I could build the building, but I do want to keep it open so that way I can build around when we do get those restaurant pieces into the game. And again, it's going to be very similar to Planet Zoo's system on that, which is something that I'm very, very excited to see for as well. So hopefully I'm giving myself enough room for the other two parks. I'm really trying to keep a good eye on that and trying to keep this water park pretty narrow. It's going to go take all of the land all the way to the back, and it's just going to be kind of a narrow park. Like, it's not going to take up too much space. There could be at times where we could make it a little bit wider, but just depending on how much space we use in the main park, the Universe Adventure Park. So, and also just want to keep enough space for that expansion as well, which I'm very excited to see where that goes. Like, really just waiting for DLC and updates for Planet Coaster 2, which the game is starting to really start to come together when it comes to everything. I think honestly that the developers are really doing a good job getting this game to where it needs to be, and we're not there just yet, but we are getting very close overall. So very excited to see that. So this is going to be the other entrance and exit for the lazy river, and this is we're gonna have a few more things on this side of the water park. Not too many things, because again, I don't want to take up too much space, which will be occupied by the Universe Adventure Park. But in this part ending here, we do a lot of grinding to get all that rock texture in around the lazy river. So the only thing we don't get done in this episode really for the lazy river is kind of that cave that connects with the volcano area, and we get a decent amount done, but we don't get all of that completed. We still need to close it up and kind of do some fine details in that cave. I do kind of want to do a little bit of extra details in that cave. I think it'll be really, really neat to do that also. And then I just went ham when it came to like foliage and trees with this entire lazy river. You know, this is probably the best lazy river I've ever put together. I mean, I've only really made one other one, and that was in Midwest Adventure, which was my kind of like my testing ground park, and that one turned out okay. I just didn't do much with it. It was just to kind of test the grounds for lazy rivers in general, and you know, it worked out pretty good, and it gave me some good knowledge, and now we have what we have here. So very, very exciting to see. And you'll see later on here in a little bit that we do actually work a little bit on the lighting, and I gotta say, this is starting to look really cool at night. This is definitely a park that I want to be a spectacle at night as well. We're gonna have some crazy stuff at night. I would love to put in a fireworks show. This is the dream park that I've always wanted to do in Planet Coaster 1. Never really did it, but now that we have Planet Coaster 2, obviously I just want to create the greatest park I've ever done before. Planet Coaster 1, I guess my biggest park was probably Time City. That was one that, you know, I mean, I basically finished it, but I did cut some corners a lot, I feel like, and when it came to like effort and like just overall getting stuff done. And I've committed myself differently on this project. This project isn't going to take quite as long because I am putting myself in a routine and schedule to get an episode out each week with about 4 or more hours of footage for you guys. So that is my commitment to you guys, and if I slack off on that, hopefully it won't happen, and I'm going to do everything in my power not to have any of the episodes come out late. But, you know, life can happen sometimes. I am starting up work, and my schedule is going to be a lot busier, but I do have a plan to try and still get these episodes out to you guys. I've been really on a good pace when it comes to getting these starting to edit. Like, for instance, this episode I'm editing on Monday when I don't need it done until about Wednesday, so I'm trying to get ahead of the curve, right? Trying to maybe get a little bit of a head start on next week, because I am going to be working my tail off at work and not going to be having a whole lot of time. But I think as long as I try and work on the park, you know, for an hour each night, you know, before I go to bed, I think I could be good. I still have enough time to work on it, so not something I'm too worried about. I think the biggest part is just having enough time to edit the videos more than anything, and I think that's my biggest fear, because the editing process is a little bit lengthy overall, and it takes quite a bit of my time out of the day. So but again, I'm still committed to you guys. What I need to do is just make sure I have one night that is committed to editing the video, and the other nights are all for recording. So that's just basically what we need to do overall when it comes to that routine and schedule. But I don't want this to be a project that, one, ever gets abandoned, and two, that I'm not actively working on, because you guys know, if you've been on my channel, I have sometimes periods of time where I won't work on a project for many months, honestly, because I just take a long time to get back into it. But this is, again, being my dream park that I've built so far. It has been easy to continue to work on it, even if it's a little bit at a time. Even when I don't feel like it. Sometimes when I open up the park, I immediately go, you know what, actually, you know, I can't do this. I do feel like doing this now, you know. Sometimes I just need to open the park and really kind of visualize what I want to get done in that particular session and episode. So it worked out pretty good, and so far it's worked to a T for me so far, and it also allows me to continue to push out videos each week. Even if it's only one video a week, at least I'm pulling out videos. Sometimes I'll have times where I go many weeks without even posting a video. So this allows me, or forces me, to kind of continuously get content out for you guys. Now, that That being said, you might not see that much content besides this. However, at least I'm getting it going. So I'm sure a lot of you guys can appreciate that. I'm having a blast making these episodes so far, and the further we get into the project, the more excited I am for later episodes and more stuff that we do later on, because boy, can I not wait to get to the dry park. However, I'm really trying to pace myself. I don't want to rush the water park. I still want the water park to look fantastic. So, but man, once we get to that dry park, I'm going to be so excited, especially when we start working on some of the dark rides and attractions, the thrill rides that are going to be in there. It's going to be so fun, and I cannot wait. And I'm still kind of finalizing, planning out my different areas, and I need to really start to figure out what I'm going to do for each dark ride and really start to come up with some storylines for those dark rides, because before we know it, we're going to be in, those parts sooner than you think. But going on here, I wanted to do some really cool lighting for the lazy river and also the mountain, or the volcano rather, and really make this look really cool at night. Really have some cool lighting packages with a lot of different colors. So I just basically just scattered a lot of colors around everything and really made it look cool. And at the top we have that red color, which will be really neat. And of course we needed to add some lights around these slides as well to really light those up and get those lava kind of fiery colors as well. But that's gonna about do it for this episode, guys, at least on the time lapse. We're gonna head into the real time, and future me can tell you about what we did in this episode. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and head over in here in real time and see what in detail what we have accomplished in this episode. This is a really fun one, mostly because we are now inside an actual park and actually adding attractions and such like that. So let's get started with the entrance area here. This entrance is fairly simple. It's just going to be like this little thatch. It's supposed to look very instead of like super grand, but more like kind of cozy and more like you're entering a tropical paradise, hence the name Paradise Adventure. And then we have some changing rooms off to the right, and then of course by popular demand we did add some restrooms over here by the changing rooms. Everyone said it was a good idea to add some restrooms over here as well, which I completely agree. That way if they're over here, they don't have to walk all the way back over here for these restrooms. So we do need to make sure we have plenty of restrooms on park and on site. So we'll also make sure we have some restrooms as we go a little bit further into the park as well. I think that's also a good idea to have restrooms, at least, of course, next to the changing rooms as well. But I did, again, have multiple changing rooms here, mostly for the simple fact it can help with guest, hopefully will help with guest congestion, since we have 4 blocks in each building of for the changing rooms as well. So we do need to decorate the back of this building a little bit. You're not going to see it too much unless you're staying in the hotel over here, of course. But let's go ahead and start off with some of the attractions we added to get started in this amazing kind of start we have to the water park. So obviously it is based off of Universal. This whole resort is based off of Universal Parks. So I wasn't going to completely base it off of Volcano Bay, which I didn't, but we do have a little bit of a volcano here. It's not on the biggest scale. It is actually kind of a smaller scale of, and I wanted to put some slides off to the side that was kind of supported by this. We are going to put some covers on this. Like, this isn't final. Like, we're gonna add more scenery and details to this and the queue line. We are gonna add some sort of cover on this, so like it actually will have some sort of roof or something like that. And we also are gonna leave ourselves a little room for expansion. So potentially, if I wanted to add more slides, maybe on the back side here, we could do that as well. I do plan on putting the wave pool back behind here, though. So we will have a wave pool right here. We'll most likely get into that in the next episode. Never make promises because plans can always change. But this is also not finished just yet as well. This is going to be kind of like a little cave section for the lazy river. I almost said lost river. Lazy river. It's going to have a little cave in here. Hopefully it'll be fairly dark. I'm not entirely sure if it will, but we're going to try and finish that up in the next episode. For the most part, though, the rest of the lazy river is pretty much done. It's got a lot going for it. I did go ahead and cover up. There's a couple spots I need to fix there. But you can see that we did go ahead and cover it up with this rock texture to try and give it a nice, unique feel, so it doesn't feel like your normal little lazy river that you would in Planet Coaster. It's going to be nice and themed, have a lot of scenery around it, and a lot of foliage and trees and palms, with some different theming items here and there. Also, and we have like 2 separate ways you could go, and here there's a little split in the middle. You can stay on the right or go to the left. Sometimes you'll see Lazy River has stuff like that. I do probably need to add a little bit more to this waterfall section, which also carries water down into the Lazy River as well. I did want to try and connect the water in some way, shape, or form with the little river here by the City Walk, which would, in theory, kind of connect a little bit with our river here, which isn't completely the case. There's not really a good way to kind of make this flow into here, but maybe we can do kind of like a little waterfall here, like a small, like water's coming through here and connecting, so you can have somewhat of that connection. I was thinking of maybe having this water kind of have a little waterfall into this water, so if that kind of makes sense. So it kind of blends potentially the 2 bodies of water together, which hopefully could be a good idea in that. So that would be really cool. So just so you know, I am probably still going to be adding more effects and a few other things here with this lazy river. This is just kind of the start of it. So, but I think overall it is very well themed, and it's got a lot of scenery around it. It's looking pretty solid in my opinion. So, but it's not completed yet. We are going to have a pathway that rolls around over here, and we will have it connect over here. So there will be 2 different entrances for this, main entrances for this lazy river. They will be able to get in and out right here, but this is mostly because I wanted to make sure I had enough lifeguard coverage. So I do have to have some pathing around in some areas. We got a good amount of coverage. I did put one in the cave here, so you can enter also through that, but mostly I just wanted to make sure we had enough lifeguard coverage. That way it is a nice functional, and we'll still get some good ratings as well. We want to make sure it's highly rated as well, and that way it is, I don't get constant notifications that's saying that it's unsafe, because obviously we don't want that. Now we could have done the wading depth, but because I want to see them in the floaties and everything flowing down the river, I want to make sure that we at least have the swimming depth. And if we want to, we could make this bottom raised up a little bit. If we really wanted to, we could do that and make it appear like it's not as deep. Now, this obviously is a little bit deep for a lazy river. In real life, it'd probably not be as deep. It would be more like the wading, but again, they won't swim really, and they won't use the floaties if they are not, and at least the swimming depth. So I think it's all right. I think it's just fine the way it is, and unless you really look for it, and like, oh yeah, that is pretty, that is pretty deep, but I think it works for what it is, and it looks fantastic. I'm pretty pleased with how this lazy river has turned out, and I just love the amount of greenery that I have put in here. This water park is going to have a lot of palm trees, a lot of trees, a lot of greenery and foliage. My style building is like that. So this little slide complex, we may add some more slides on it, but for right now we're going to have the 3. We have a single tube, a double tube, and a body slide so far for this. And I'm very excited for the next update on the 20th, which will allow us to get the rounded bottoms and the better physics for these slides. So hopefully they're not too extreme. I don't think they are. They're pretty tame slides. So these won't be like super high thrill or anything like that. These are going to be kind of like, just kind of like your moderate kind of slides. They're not super big. We're going to have some much bigger ones in later. So this is just going to be, and this is going to be kind of like, I wanted to call these slides like eruption or something like that, which is going to kind of coincide with the volcano theming, which is why they are kind of like the red, orange, and yellow colors. That way they kind of, kind of lava kind of colors. That's kind of the idea there. And of course, I did want to add something cool at the top of this volcano. You'll see it here in a moment, hopefully. But there is an effect. You can see we splash up, and it does that. I think I have it set to every 20 or 30 seconds, 20 seconds. So you'll see that water splash up from the top, almost as if it's erupting, kind of slightly. So we might add some more like mist effects. It could be a good idea to add some mist effects and maybe make a lot of fog around here. I think that'd be kind of a cool effect as well. So we do have this left side developed. On the next episode, we'll probably try and look in developing the right side of this land right here, and hopefully wrap around to the other side of the lazy river, and also get ourselves a wave pool. So I do have a lot I want to get done by the next episode. Maybe get another slide or so in there as well. On this right side, I do want to have our trapdoor drop slides, which will utilize some of the terrain over here. I think that's what we're going to do. And then once we get further towards the back of the water park, we're going to start adding at least multiple. I kind of want to add multiple different water coasters as well. When I say water coasters, I'm not meaning anything with tracks. I mean the water coasters that actually have like these jets that propel you upwards, kind of like a water launch, They're most commonly referred to as water coasters. They're not really roller coasters or anything, but that is what a lot of people refer them to. So anyways, that is going to about do it for this episode, guys. Let me know in the comments section if you like what you're seeing so far. And also hit that like button. And if you are not subscribed, guys, you definitely sure should. And you like what you see, you should definitely consider subscribing, because we are going to be releasing these episodes every week. And if you want to support me further and have access to these episodes early, my channel members, if you join and become a channel member, you will get early access to these episodes a day, sometimes even 2 days early. So make sure you hit that join button if you want to support us further. I really do appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next time. So thanks so much for watching. Have a great day and we'll cooler tomorrow, guys, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks, and goodbye.